Hey guys, I'm here today to tell you about the debut EP from Teeth, A Biblical Worship of Violence, out May 5th on Nuclear Blast. This EP has 5 tracks, 15 minutes in length, and they are a Canadian hardcore band. A Canadian hardcore band that is releasing an EP that has a lot of meat in it. This is dense, this is thick, this is heavy, this is aggressive, it's absolutely brutal at times. It has a lot of dynamics into it. It doesn't have a uniform sound from first to last song. It just moves a lot. It's super chaotic. It has a lot of jolts. It brings you down, it brings you back up again. It's a very interesting, short, but incredible, drastic roller coaster ride of ups and downs. That's pretty much the experience across all 5 songs. None of them sound exactly the same. None of them feel exactly the same. None of them have the sort of same pattern or journey. They have similarities in their elements. They have similarities in the sound experience, but they're all unique. They're all different, and they all showcase a different side of the band and what they can do with their sound and what they can do with their vocals. Now let's go through these 5 songs track by track so you get a little bit of a better idea of what this EP is all about. The EP opens up with We Eat Our Young. Brutal start. I think this is the best song to start off the EP. I really like the design of this EP in terms of the sequence of songs, because you have a great starting track, you have a great closing track, and in the middle you have the right ebbs and flows that take you perhaps in different paths or slightly different paths than what you would be expecting. But We Eat Our Young is a great opening song because it's brutal, it's chaotic from the start. Now there is some methodic, heavy moments to the song where you really feel pounded by the sound and pounded by the vocals. The two really work in almost like a tag team effect of stomping you down. There's this feeling of stomping that comes from the sound, and then it hits you with the vocals, then hits you with the sound, and then it hits you with the vocals. At the midpoint, it moves into a more, I hate to use the word groovy, but it's not as thick, it's not as driven, it's not as methodic, so it has a little bit more groove in it, but still very brutal sound, and it keeps it that way until it closes. It's a song that has a lot of meat, like I said. For a band called Teeth, this song allows you to sink your teeth into it because it's meaty from start all the way to the end. And it really sets the tone because the album, or should I say the EP, is going to be pretty much like that all the way through. Next comes Hate Me. This one has a faster tempo, and I like that because you go from a more methodic approach to a song that comes at you a little bit quicker, not as chaotic as well. It has a little bit more of a defined sound experience, a defined process, and a defined direction. It allows you to better digest the heaviness because the fact that it moves quicker, it stretches out that heaviness, it dilutes a little bit of that heaviness, making it a little bit, like I said, less chaotic, but also a little bit easier to process. And then it has great tempo changes that gives you that more methodic, heavier movement at times, and then that faster pace at others. One enhances the other. One makes the other feel even more jolty. It makes the other one feel even more powerful. So it's a track that overall it feels like it moves extremely fast, but when you look at how it's put together, it has ebbs and flows, and it contracts and it expands as you move along. But that movement of contracting and expanding also creates a forward motion to it. Next it comes Pig Virus. This is intense, this is aggressive. I would even go as far as to say this is a very abrasive song. More dynamic vocally than its 2 predecessors, and it has a little bit more of a sense of compact musically. It feels more cohesive musically. There's perhaps less room for you to move because this is the shortest track on this EP. Having said that, it feels like one of the longest songs. The fact that they compacted this track, the fact that they push a lot of content into a short song and they didn't give you any room to breathe, they made the track feel like it actually was longer and bigger than what it actually was in reality. So that's an interesting perception that it leaves you with because it doesn't match exactly what it's happening. But I enjoyed this track because of how condensed it sounded and how condensed it felt. Next comes Drip. vocals and sound are parallel to one another. I think this is the first track on this EP where you feel like the sound is moving in one direction, the vocals are moving in the same direction, but they're not intertwined with one another, they're parallel to one another. This creates a sense of extension, it creates a sense of a larger footprint for the song to exist. It makes the track feel wider, and that's an important aspect because it allows the track to create a different momentum. It allows the song to have different attributes that separate it from its predecessors, even though it has a lot of the same elements sound-wise, vocally, in terms of the chunkiness of the sound, in terms of how robust and dense it is, but also how groovy it is in some moments. So you're using the same elements, but by constructing a song that allows the sound and vocals to work in parallel, you're changing how the song is perceived by the listener. And this is a track that at times feels like you're having a psychotic experience, because there are pockets of heaviness and groove, and then there are moments that almost feel, those specific moments almost feel like the quiet before the storm, before everything erupts, before everything goes into an extreme, before everything becomes very explosive. So it's a very interesting track because it has at least 3 different momentums to it, and those momentums allow the one that comes after to be enhanced in terms of what it offers and how it impacts the listener. Really interesting song from this perspective, very unique in the design, in the soundscape, and how it's constructed. Last but not least, EyesHornsMouth. This is the perfect closing song. As We Eat Our Young was the perfect opening song, this is the perfect closing song. And it's a perfect closing song because it offers attributes that were there for the entire duration of the EP, but never really surfaced until this moment. And it also has the perfect ending to the song itself. Now, I love the drums on this track. I felt like the drum track overall in this song was very powerful, was very noticeable, and it didn't get drowned out as much by the overall dense soundscape of the guitars. It offers better deliveries. It offers different deliveries. It's a track that blends the very traditional heavy chugging of the guitars with a little bit more of a chaotic approach, but also very direct and very penetrating guitar sound. So it's a more eclectic sounding song. It's a more volatile sounding song, but with parameters, with barriers. Heavy breakdowns. I mean, there's heavy breakdowns throughout the entire EP, but for some reason, the way they came across in this song, they felt heavier than anything that you heard before. And then closing off, the way the song ends, this moving into nothing, this sound dissipating into oblivion, it's the perfect way of closing off such a brutal sounding release, such a brutal sounding EP, and almost a finishing note, moving in towards death silence. I don't think you could have finished off better. I think this is it's almost anticlimactic to a certain extent, but it works so well. The calm, the peacefulness of the end represents almost to a contrast the overall chaos that exists from beginning all the way until that point. So I really enjoy this song as a closing song. This was a very interesting release, and if you're one of those that just likes something to sink your teeth into it, a meaty sounding EP from start to end, this one is definitely down your alley. Now, it's not going to be for everybody because, like I said, there's a lot of chaos here, and sometimes it's hard to see the forest from the trees, but this is not about seeing the forest from the trees. This is just about chopping as many trees as you can and hitting everybody with them. This is it, Teeth, A Biblical Worship of Violence, out May 5th on Nuclear Blast. Let me know your thoughts on the band. Hit me in the comment section. I'll see you all at the next video.